What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters podcast. Glad to be with you. My name is Eric, a wonderful co-host over there. His name is Will. How you doing this morning, man?
Hey man, feeling good. I'm not in a costume today, so it's always a good start to the day.
It is always a good start. We did tie, so there's a reason for that besides the one that I'm about to tell. But we are changing things up this week. We are doing another start sit video, but not the same format that we've been doing throughout the season. Um, so we do want some feedback on this. If you guys think this is more helpful, more useful to you than what we've been doing, let us know down in the comments. That would be much appreciated. That way we can decide whether we want to continue doing this for the rest of the fantasy playoffs. But the plan is to kind of discuss some bigger names, whether just on name value alone or based on performance throughout the season, that are in potentially a difficult situation, difficult matchup, have been trending downwards. And I'm just going to list off some names for Will. We're going to kind of rapid fire to see who he would start over or potentially sit behind those names. So I hope that makes sense. I think it'll make more sense as we get into it. But also to you guys, if there's any names that you feel like we missed on this list or anyone that you're not sure whether you want to start or not, also let us know down in the comments below. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions and try to help you out in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start off by listing some big names with bad matchups that you're definitely going to start no matter what. Because I know that some people are going to get a little cute, they're going to get a little antsy and see these matchups and maybe want to stray away. But guys like Patrick Mahomes, who's the number 2 quarterback in fantasy right now, you're not sitting, even though he's going up against Houston, who hasn't given up anything to quarterbacks so far this season. Same for, I mean, got to put it in air quotes because they're a terrible defense, but they're so bad against the run that they don't give up anything to quarterbacks. Josh Jacobs against New England. They are second ranked against the running back. We're starting him anyway. Austin Eckler against Tennessee. He's fantastic as a receiver, so even if he doesn't get anything going on the ground, doesn't matter. You
Mm-hmm.
got anything to add again for those guys?
Nah, it's like you said. There's some guys where you just have to start them. Like you really do, even if they're not. Even if, like you said, they have a bad matchup, you just got to go with them regardless. Like, don't get too cute with it because you can lose playoffs like that. I've done it before
Yeah,
myself.
100%. And there's some other guys I didn't list. I think like Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams have not so great matchups, but we're starting all those guys. Start your studs. But we'll get into the meat of this list now. Guys that you might typically start that you might want to think twice about. We'll start at the quarterback position. First off, we have Justin Fields going up against Philadelphia, who is the number 1 ranked defense against quarterbacks.
Yeah, it. So this one does make me a little bit nervous, but at the same time, Justin Fields throughout his sort of I can't call it a resurgence, sort of his breakout, I guess, is the way we should talk
Yeah.
about that. During his breakout, he was playing against some of the best defenses against quarterbacks as well. Like he was playing against some really tough matchups and still making a lot happen. So while I'm not like super confident because I don't really feel like any of the wide receivers on the Bears are super talented or really talented enough to get open consistently against this Eagles defense, I do think Justin Fields himself is still a good enough athlete, and his rushing floor is so high that I think he would still be a good start even against a bad matchup.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. Like you said, even in difficult matchups, he's played New England in week 7, put up 23 points, played Dallas in week 8, put up 26 points. Um, Green Bay, somewhat difficult matchup in week 13. He went for 19. But yeah, like you said, that rushing floor is just incredible. He's rushed for over 60 yards in every game since week 6. He's scored at least one rushing touchdown in every game since week 7. So yeah, it's going to be really hard to sit him. But with that being said, let's go through some of these names and see who you might sit him for. So I guess we'll start from the bottom in this case, since we're more optimistic about Justin Fields, and we'll go until we have somebody that you'd actually start over him.
Okay.
We have Tua going up against Buffalo.
No, I would not.
Absolutely not. Kirk Cousins against Indianapolis.
Nah, I don't. I mean, I feel like it's a good matchup still, but I think Justin Fields still has a higher ceiling than Kirk Cousins. I mean, Kirk Cousins really did well last week as well, but
Yeah, he went for over 400 passing yards, but I see what you're saying for
yeah,
sure.
I think that one's close. That one's really close, but I'd still go Justin Fields.
Okay. Dak Prescott against Jacksonville.
I don't trust Dak Prescott, so I'm sticking Justin Fields.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with you there yet. Either Joe Burrow against Tampa Bay.
Now that one's interesting. That one's interesting. I'm still giving the edge to Justin Fields here. It's that rushing floor that gets me though. That's the thing. But
Yeah,
I really do think Joe Burrow could have a really good game, but he's going into this one probably without T Higgins, or I don't know what they're doing with T Higgins really. Jamar Chase
yeah,
is back and obviously he's been performing well. Tyler Boyd may miss some time too. So
yep.
yeah, I'm gonna go Justin Fields still.
Okay. Justin Herbert versus Tennessee.
Now that one's interesting. I
Yeah,
actually really do like Justin Herbert for the rest of the season now that he's got his weapons back. So I think in this one I'm going to give it to Justin Herbert. You know, a little Justin
yeah.
on Justin crime, but yeah, I think I'm going Justin Herbert on this one. I like Fields a lot, but I like Justin Herbert's ceiling, especially now that Mike Williams is back, Keenan Allen's balling again. Donald
Yeah,
Parham should be back this weekend as well.
true.
Yeah.
Off IR, yeah. Yeah, and this Tennessee defense is an absolute pass funnel. Like they're elite against the run and so bad against the pass. So
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree there. I think I might lean Burrow over Fields, but that one's close as well. So yeah, I think that kind of Burrow Herbert is probably the line as
Mm-hmm.
far as, where we would start to sit Fields. So I like that one. We'll move on to Trevor Lawrence taking on Dallas. They are third ranked as far as fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks.
Okay. Okay. I will say Trevor's hot right now. It's a
Yeah.
bad matchup, but Trevor has been doing pretty well last so far. I looked up some of the stats just so I could find it. It says he scored at least 18 fantasy points in 5 games in a row, including 3 outings with at least 24 points. And the last time he was in Jacksonville, he had 30 points against Baltimore, who, again, not the best defense in the world, but still a pretty competent defense, and he was able to put up 30 points against them.
Yep.
So I don't completely hate Trevor Lawrence as a start, especially since he does have his weapons around him, and they have all been performing pretty well as of late.
Yep.
I'm not sure about the specifics for Dallas. I'm not even really sure how well the Jaguars' offensive line has been playing so far this year. Do we have any idea
Yeah.
about that?
I don't have like their actual rankings pulled up in front of me, but I know that just from watching some of these games,
Mm-hmm.
that Trevor Lawrence has been under pressure quite a bit.
Yeah, and as we
Um,
know with Dallas, they've been one of the best at putting pressure on the quarterback.
yeah, their front seven is relentless.
So,
Um,
hmm.
yeah, so the only other thing I have to add, I think you touched on most of the important points for Trevor. He's
Mm-hmm.
just been really streaky. That team as a whole has been really streaky as far as their consistency and their performance. You don't always know what you're going to get from them week to week. It doesn't even necessarily depend on the matchup. It could be a good matchup, could be a bad one. You just don't know what you're going to get from them. But
Mm-hmm.
they have been running hot lately, so hopefully they can continue that. But let's start offering you up some names to see who you would start or sit. Um, we'll start with Tom Brady versus Cincinnati.
See, that's actually kind of tough. I don't think Tom Brady has not performed well this season, but I do think at some point he's going to bounce back, and that would be a good game for him too, because it's another good offense. But I'm gonna stick Trevor just because it's tough for me to bet against Tom Brady, but at the same time, this is the season to do it if you're gonna do it. So I'm gonna stick
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence right here.
yeah, it's definitely been rough for Tom. What about Aaron Rodgers taking on the Rams?
Ooh, I'm actually that's tough. Actually, that's really tough.
Yeah,
That's really tough against the Rams, who have been pretty bad this year as a whole.
especially their secondary. Their run defense has actually been okay, but yeah, their secondary's been getting torched.
Yeah, this might be a quick flip. I think I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers here because they have been
Okay.
performing really well lately too. The Christian Watson's emerged. Romeo Dobbs comes back as well.
Yep.
Obviously, Aaron Jones should be back at full health or at least close to it this week. AJ Dillon's been doing well. Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Aaron Rodgers in this instance.
So, not that I even disagree with you. I think that's probably a good decision,
Mm-hmm.
but in week 13 against Chicago, Aaron Rodgers only scored 13.6 fantasy points. Philly week 12 9.5, Tennessee week 11, 19. Those are his last 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Does that change anything for you knowing that, or is it still the same decision?
I actually already knew those points before I
Okay.
even answered. I knew he's
All right.
kind of going
He's on
through a little
top
bit
of
of
it.
a slump right here, but I do think I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do well this week. At least
Yeah.
I trust him a
Okay.
little bit more than Trevor Lawrence against Dallas.
Yeah. It's a real tough matchup. So, yeah, fairly low bar for Trevor. We're worried about the matchup, and I think I agree with you here.
Ooh.
So we'll get into our last quarterback to discuss. We have Geno Smith, who has been balling lately, but he's taken on San Francisco, who's fifth ranked against quarterbacks.
Yeah, that one's going to be a little bit tough. They started out the season really hot. Gino hasn't even really been playing poorly, but he hasn't been playing great lately either. And against San Francisco, that's going to be really tough. Everybody's sort of struggled against this team. We saw last week they held the Buccaneers to what, one touchdown,
Yeah,
and even then they scored that at the last second, pretty much a garbage time touchdown.
yeah.
Do I think DK and Tyler Lockett? I think they're enough. They'll probably have Kenneth Walker back this week as well.
Another guy we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I don't really trust Geno this week. I've just seen this 49ers defense do some bad things to quarterbacks, especially
Yeah.
lately, that I can't really trust Geno all too much.
No, I'm totally with you. He's another. I don't know why I'm fumbling over my words. Similar to Jacksonville, this team has been kind of streaky, but
Hmm.
their wide receivers, their passing game has really been on fire these last few weeks. Geno's been hot. DK, like you said, Tyler Lockett, they've all been running on full
Even
cylinders
Marquise
here. But
Goodwin.
yeah, even Marquise Goodwin last week, he went off. So they're streaking coming into this, but San Francisco is no joke. But yeah, let's get into some of these names. I'm going to start the bar pretty low.
Okay.
Uh, Ryan Tannehill
Fuck no,
versus the
no. I don't
Chargers.
even care who he's
Okay.
playing. No, don't
All
care.
right. I have a feeling this one's going to be a quick no as well. Deshaun Watson versus
No,
Baltimore.
I don't want the tickler, bro. I don't even know if that guy can play football anymore.
Fair enough. Daniel Jones versus Washington.
Mm. Now you see the issue with Daniel Jones, man. I don't fucking like that guy, but
Yeah.
Daniel Jones again, one of those guys with a sneaky rushing floor that people don't take account of. And even the
Yep.
last time they played against Washington, I think he had 70, 60 something, 65, 70 rushing yards. Uh
Yep.
One thing that I've seen recently, I don't know if this is something you've seen well either, but like teams who are really bad against or not really bad, who are really good against running backs and really good at guarding the run in that aspect, have let up a good amount of rushing yards to quarterbacks still.
Yeah. Typically, you're going to have to stack your defense
Hmm.
either in the front seven or on the back end. There's a select few that can do both, like San Francisco and the Jets and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time you're going to get a strength on one side or the other.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm not gonna pick Daniel Jones, but it's really close. It's really close.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Mike White taking on Detroit.
Oh man, does that guy have ribs? Is he okay?
It sounds like he's going to play.
Oh man. Mike White. I would probably go Mike White. I think I would
I
go
think
Mike
that's the
White
line
here.
for me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would go
Uh,
Mike White.
ex- Exactly like you just mentioned, the point about, good run defenses struggling against the pass. Detroit has been absolutely balling against the run as of late, but they're still terrible against the pass. So yeah, I think they're going to have to funnel through the passing game. I think Mike White's going to have a pretty good game. I think Garrett Wilson, potentially even Elijah Moore, are going to do well this week as well. So yeah, I think that's my line as well.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So that wraps it up for our quarterbacks. Again, if you have anybody else that you're interested in hearing about, let us know in the comments and we can answer that for you. But we'll move on to the running back position. I do have some notes written up here, but we can talk about them just kind of as we discuss. The first one on this list is Alvin Kamara. Now, he doesn't have a difficult matchup like most of the guys on this list do. He's going up against Atlanta, who's 22nd ranked against the run. Um, but he's just been terrible lately. He's been really, really bad. So I want to hear your opinion on him and whether you think he's a viable start.
Um, See, that's the weird thing about Alvin Kamara too, because he is one of those people with like that sort of draft capital that like you kind of feel like you got to start him, but you would also hope that by playoffs you figured this out as well, because Alvin Kamara's been bad, not the entire season, but the majority of the season.
Yeah.
Against Atlanta, against Desmond Ritter,
True.
I I think I'd hope for a bounce back from Alvin Kamara, especially since Andy Dalton's still playing. There is still at least that hope that Alvin Kamara gets more involved in the offense. So like I
Yeah.
don't think he's a bad start. Obviously against Atlanta's number 22 defense, but I think this could be an opportunity for a bounce back, or at least just a good game from Alvin Kamara this week. Even
Yeah. I think for the most part, I agree with you, but let me read through some of this note that I wrote up. Atlanta's a great matchup, and Mark Ingram, who he's been splitting snaps with, is hurt. So Kamara should get an increased share of the workload. But over the last 5 weeks, Kamara has scored single digit fantasy points in, all but once. And the one time he did, it was only 10.9 points. To be fair to him, in those last 5 weeks, it's been a really tough stretch of run defenses. But like you said, he's still tough to trust.
mm-hmm.
Um, so, with that being said, let's talk about some names here. I think it worked better for the quarterbacks to go bottom up, but maybe we should go top down here since a lot of these guys were kind of questioning.
Okay,
So, I'm going to start with some guys that you'll probably say you would start over him. Dalvin Cook
yeah,
versus Indianapolis.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah.
Okay. Tony Pollard versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's weird to say a backup running back over Alvin Kamara, but that guy's been cooking. So yes, and
Yeah.
he's not even
And
really a
is
backup. It's the 1B
exactly.
situation.
Yeah. Miles Sanders versus Chicago.
Yeah, I'd take Miles Sanders there.
Same. Okay, so I'm going to avoid overlap. I'm not going to talk about some of the names that we have on this list, but we'll go to Isaiah Pacheco versus Houston.
Ooh, I would probably give that to Isaiah Pacheco. I feel like that's a
Okay.
big opportunity, well, at least a game where Kansas City shouldn't struggle too much. I don't know. Texas has been
No.
giving people games as of late.
As of the last one game.
Yeah. But that should be a game the Chiefs go up and then they're just riding Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon because they've actually been using their running backs a lot lately. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think Isaiah Pacheco there.
Okay. Aaron Jones versus the Rams.
I like Aaron Jones a little bit more. I a
Really?
little bit more. I think.
Okay.
I think yeah.
I think I think that might be my line, but let's
Okay.
keep it going. I like it. It's definitely close.
Okay.
Um, Zeke versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's just about. That's probably where I'd stop it right there. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'd stop
See,
it right there,
honestly,
but that's kind of
the
tough. It's
the
tough
list,
between these
yeah.
last two.
I'm just looking at like a rankings list here as far as like week 15 rankings. Honestly, I might like Zeke more than Aaron Jones this week. So I don't know if that was a fair one. Are we stopping it there, or do you want me to keep going?
What's the next one? I'm interested.
James Conner versus Denver.
Okay, yeah. So the line is definitely before James Conner.
Okay.
With Zeke, Aaron Jones, and Alvin Kamara, they're probably all around the same tier for me, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
so
No, I agree.
they'd all be kind of interchangeable. But like I like Aaron Jones a little bit more, and Zeke is really that's a tough one. Zeke's a tough
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
This is we got into a weird territory because honestly, I think Zeke and Connor I might prefer over Jones. Connor's been balling. Denver's a tough matchup for sure, but he's been doing really well through the air too. But yeah, I think right around that Aaron Jones mark, like you said, is probably both of our lines. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the range that we're feeling for Alvin Kamara. Let's move on to our next one. We have Joe Mixon taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are seventh against the run.
Yeah, Joe Mixon has been weird this season. There was a point where, even still, he was just as inefficient as Najee Harris, but nobody was really, talking about it. Everybody was kind of ignoring it, like, it's Joe. He's just doing Joe things. He'll be back. But he is, as we've seen this season, he's capable of having extremely good games. Tampa Bay's run defense obviously has gotten a lot better now that like Vita Vea is back. And Ndamukong Suh's been doing really well this year as well.
Yep.
Well, Sue isn't even there anymore. He's
Yeah,
with the
Sue
Eagles
signed
now.
with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Who I can't remember their other like run stopping defensive tackle, but yeah,
It
there
was
was another
somebody
guy that
else
was
that they
dealing with
just got
injury
back.
that has come back.
Yeah, it's not Sue because he's gone now, but it was somebody else.
Yeah,
But regardless, Joe Mixon, one of those guys who easily could pop off any given week, but he has been splitting as of late with Samaje Perine, who's been playing well this year. But I don't know. I don't know if that split's going to continue too much going forward because he was just coming back from injury as well.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that gets into my note. It was Mixon's first game back last week from his concussion 2 weeks ago. He only got 58% of the snaps. Samaje Perine got 43%. Perine also ran more routes and saw more targets. Basically, exactly what you were saying. It's possible that the Bengals were just easing Mixon back in, but typically you don't really get eased off of a concussion. Like you're either healthy or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely possible that we could see a lower snap share than normal just going forward with as well as P. Ryan has been playing. So with that being said, let's get into some of these names here. There's definitely going to be some overlap. I'm going to be repeating names, but despite that, we'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'll start top down. Tony Pollard.
I'd start Tony Pollard before Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Miles Sanders against Chicago.
For that matchup, I'd start Miles Sanders over Joe Mixon.
Okay. Isaiah Pacheco versus Houston.
I probably got to draw the line there. I do like Joe Mixon a lot. Like he has been
Yeah.
inefficient so far this year, but I think his involvement with this team is really good, and I'm hoping that there is an uptick this week as well. Because I don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row, but you never really know. I think Samaje Perine has earned more time on the field, you know, but
Yeah.
it's more time relative to the beginning of the season when he wasn't on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Yeah. No, I
yeah, it's just tough with me. It's tough to go Isaiah Pacheco over Joe Mixon.
yeah. I agree. I think
Where's
I
your
think I
line?
might yeah, I might still lean Pacheco there. Just Houston is just such a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Um and Tampa I, I want to say I saw a notification about Vita Vea dealing with a calf injury. So if he's playing, then I'd probably go Pacheco. If he's out, that might actually be the difference for me. So yeah,
Okay.
that line is definitely pretty close. The next one would be Aaron Jones, and I would definitely draw the line there. I
Mm-hmm.
assume you would as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So we're in that range. The next one on this list is going to be Nick Chubb versus Baltimore, who have been sixth ranked as far as fantasy points allowed to running backs.
So Nick Chubb has seen a lot of struggles as of late, especially with the tickler back there at quarterback.
Yeah.
I will say though, the last time they played against Baltimore, he did have a pretty good game. It wasn't a bad game at all. Plus, it's a
Yep.
divisional game, so stuff does kind of get weird. These rankings don't
Yeah.
mean as much because it's a
Right.
divisional. So I would still, I don't know. Baltimore has been really good lately too. Hmm. I guess I'm Nick Chubb's kind of one of those guys. I feel like if you got him, you're probably going to start him as well. He's been,
100%.
on the bad side of a lot of Nick Chubb games as of late, but you're hoping that he's going to turn it around, especially now that we're in playoffs. But it's the worst It's one of the worst matchups you could get going in the playoffs, I will say.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you for the most part here. It's been a small sample size, like you said, the past 2 weeks with Deshaun Watson. Chubb has scored 8 points, which was against the Texans. So that's not a good look because they're a fantastic matchup,
Hmm.
and 6.9 points. Prior to those 2 weeks, Chubb had scored under 10 points only twice on the entire season. And like you said, now he's taken on Baltimore, who's just a really, really good run stopping defense. So let's get into some names here. There, a lot of these guys, as far as this rankings list, are put pretty close together. So I'm sorry for all the repetition, but hopefully you're getting kind of a gauge as to our confidence level in these guys
Hmm.
based on these names. So we'll start high again. And maybe this will end quickly, depending on how you feel. But we're starting with Isaiah Pacheco again versus Houston.
I'd go Pacheco. I think I'd stay Pacheco on that one. Like you said, the matchup is too good. Kansas City's too good of a team that like they're gonna go up at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
With this Browns team and how bad Deshaun Watson has been, against the Texans, who knew what that game was even gonna turn into at that point.
right. All right, so we'll dip down into this range that so far has been the line for a lot of these guys. That kind of Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott range.
I'd
Or I can go one by one if you'd prefer.
I'd probably start both of them before Nick Chubb this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd stay Aaron Jones and Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Hmm.
James Conner versus Denver.
See, my biggest issue with James Conner is that they got Colt McCoy back there now. They don't have Kyler
Yeah.
anymore.
So yeah, I think that's an important point, and I think Denver's a really tough matchup. But we
Hmm.
did see basically a full game uh, of Colt McCoy last week
Yeah,
against the Patriots, who are
and Nick
also a good
Chubb,
run
and not
stopping
Nick Chubb.
defense.
James Conner did really well.
20 points. Yeah.
Hmm. I'd probably go James Conner in that instance
Okay.
over Nick Chubb.
So now on the other side of the matchup here, J.K. Dobbins versus Cleveland.
No,
Yeah,
that's where the
100%.
line is
That's the
for me.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. James Conner is really, really close.
Yeah. I think he's going to be more involved in the passing game, though. You know, a lot of check
Yeah,
down, stuff of that nature.
that's the deciding factor for me, where I would probably still lean Connor over Chubb, just like you said. But yeah, definitely not gonna go Dobbins here, even though the Cleveland matchup is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
All right, on to Saquon Barkley, who has been a little bit up and down as of late. He's got Washington, who's fifth ranked against running backs.
Saquon's one of those guys. I feel like you're going to start him. You have to start him. But he's running into a buzzsaw this week. It's the same buzzsaw he ran into 2 weeks ago. So it's not really like there's been a huge amount of time. It's not like, oh, when we played them week one. No, it was 2 weeks ago. He wasn't very successful. Still found the end zone. Still
Yeah,
found the
his
end
his
zone.
fantasy finish actually wasn't too bad. I can't remember if it was 13 or 16 points. I was
Hmm.
looking at it recently, but yeah, he's still got in the end zone, but he did struggle on the ground.
Hmm. But I still, like I said, I still love Saquon. I still like him as a start. It's just going to be a
Yeah,
rough one. It's just going to be a rough one, really. So,
yeah. So just listing off his rushing yardage totals for the past 4 weeks, they have been very difficult matchups, but he's gone for 22 yards, 39 yards, 63 yards, and 28 yards past 4 weeks. Um, And like you said, he's going up against Washington again, who he faced 2 weeks ago. There's also a little bit of question as to whether he's fully healthy or not, coming off of
hmm.
that neck injury. We saw his snaps pretty drastically reduced last week. Um, so that's something that we got to take into consideration when we're looking at these other names. But let's get into it here. Um, so again, I'm gonna start the bar with Isaiah Pacheco.
That's tough, man. That's
Did I
tough.
start? I started too low. That's all right.
Nah, it's not that it's too low. It's the matchup versus, like, I just think Saquon is one of the best running backs in the league.
100%.
And I can't say Isaiah Pacheco's better than him, but, like, for fantasy purposes, it's a better matchup. But who
Yeah.
would I start? I would probably still start Saquon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that we'll wrap it up right there. That's a quick one. I- for me, it is also really tough if I'm being totally honest. But I think I'd start Pacheco mostly because I'm worried about like the snap share and the injury concern
Hmm.
for Barkley. But definitely if we get down into the Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott range, I'm still going with Saquon. You just got to trust him. He's that good.
Yeah, it's just tough that, like, because you know Saquon, if they're in the red zone, if it's an opportunity, he's gonna get it 100%.
Yeah.
It's just whether they do that, and like you said, if they affect his snap count at all, like if they start giving those to Matt Breda, I might be sick. But
Right. And he's a super capable receiver,
hmm.
although we haven't seen much of that in these past 4 weeks. He hasn't been that efficient or been used that much, but we know that he has that in him. So that's got to be something you consider. Okay, so on to the next one. We have Kenneth Walker going up against San Francisco, the number one ranked fantasy defense against running backs.
It's tough, man, because I still don't know what a jammed ankle is. I still don't
Yeah,
know.
we don't actually know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, so it's like I don't. I've got I've got Kenneth Walker in one league that I'm in the playoffs in, and I got him in another where I'm not in the playoffs. And I gotta say, he's probably gonna be sitting on my bench in both of them, just because I don't know if this guy is good or not. And it's tough for me to trust any news coming out of Seattle. So I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on.
When you say if he's good, you mean health wise?
Yes, health wise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Health wise, I do know he's good. He's one of my
Right.
favorite running backs to watch right now, but I just don't
Same.
know if he's okay.
Yeah. So I got a little bit written up here. When he's been healthy, he's shown the ability to deliver for fantasy without racking up a ton of rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
I say that because San Francisco's just been so good at stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he still gets the ball a lot in the red zone, so he's racked up a lot of touchdowns, and he's shown flashes as a receiver, especially against Tampa Bay in Week 10, where he caught 6 of 8 targets for 55 yards. The biggest question mark for me is whether or not his ankle injury is going to hold him back, exactly like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely question marks swirling around him. He's got the best run defense in the league that he's got to take on this week. So let's get into some of these names. Where oh, that's right. Okay, I don't think this list actually has him ranked because
They don't know that he's playing, or yeah. So it's,
yeah,
yeah.
it sounds to me they sound optimistic, like he is going to play, but I'm fairly confident around his range is going to be kind of similar to the Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley area. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we'll start the bar with Isaiah Pacheco.
I'd start Isaiah Pacheco first.
Same here. Um, okay, Zeke.
I'd start Zeke.
Same. James Conner.
I'd start James Conner.
Okay, I think I would as well. Now a little bit of a tear break here. J.K. Dobbins versus Cleveland. Good matchup.
I'm trusting Kenneth Walker on a jammed ankle over J.K. Dobbins. It's something about J.K. I just don't think he's right yet. I don't think he's
He's
right.
not.
He's still very
Yeah.
involved though, and he's still very
Great
talented.
week last week.
Yeah, great week last week.
15 for what, like 120 and a tutty?
Yeah, I just don't see him doing that 2 weeks in a row though. Not on that knee.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I think I'll go Kenneth. I really like Kenneth Walker as a talent. I just don't know if he's healthy. I don't.
Yeah. That's the biggest question. If we knew for sure that he was healthy and ready to go, I'm 100% starting him over J.K. Dobbins.
Absolutely.
I think I probably still am anyway, even with the situation as it is now. But it's definitely close. So that'll be the line for both of us. We got 2 more running backs left. This one I think is going to be an interesting discussion. It's a weird situation here. We have Travis Etienne, who's been struggling as of late, and also he gets a tough matchup in Dallas, who's been fourth ranked against the running backs.
Yeah, it's tough to trust Travis Etienne, especially as of late. After the injury scare, it seems like they've kind of toned back on his usage a lot with that foot
Yeah.
injury.
Yep.
So it's tough for me to trust him, especially against this Dallas defense. And it's hard to even say that like, oh, Dallas is going to put up a lot of points. Travis Etienne is a receiving threat, so they're going to throw him the ball more. I can't even really say that because they haven't really been doing it lately. So
Yeah.
it's tough for me to trust Travis in this one.
Yeah, so you hit on literally everything that I have in this note, but just to give it a little bit more context, after the James Robinson trade, ETN went on a 6 week tear, averaging 17 points per game. Then, like you said, he injured his foot in week 12, and in the 2 weeks since then, he's played Detroit and Tennessee, who are elite run defenses, and he's really struggled. He put up 6.1 points and 3.2 points. He's also done almost nothing in the passing game since that injury, and now he gets the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So with all of that being said, let's move on to our rankings list here. We're going to start the bar a little bit lower, move away from Isaiah Pacheco, who I keep repeating. We'll go to Aaron Jones versus the Rams.
I'm starting Aaron Jones.
Same. Zeke.
Starting Zeke.
Same. James Conner versus Denver.
Starting James Conner.
Same. Okay, so here's the tier break. We're going to J.K. Dobbins again versus Cleveland.
I'd probably start J.K. Dobbins over Travis
I think I
Etienne
am
right now.
too.
Yeah.
I think I am too. Najee Harris
Oh fuck,
versus
bro!
Carolina.
Don't do this. Don't
I'm
do
doing it
this.
to you. I'm doing it to you.
I'm gonna go Najee. I've kind of. I'm not gonna say I've liked Najee as of late, but I think he hasn't been terrible as of late, especially not
He hasn't.
compared to the beginning of the season. He's been kind of doing a little bit better,
He has.
but that's just how bad Travis has been doing. I think I take Najee on this one. It's really
Yeah.
close, but I take Najee.
It's It's super close for me too, and I think I might lean Najee. It's a little sketchy because, um, who's the backup?
Jalen Warren.
Jalen Warren. He's been getting more involved since he's come back fully healthy. He's taken a lot of the 2 minute drill and a lot of the passing work, which you don't like to see for Najee Harris. But I think I'm still in agreement with you here. Let's go to David Montgomery versus Philadelphia.
Mm, I'll take Travis. I'll take
Yeah,
Travis in that instance, but it's close.
yeah. Philly's just a really tough matchup.
Yeah.
Um, I think if he was playing like a middle of the road team, probably still taking Monty. But yeah. Okay, so we're definitely more concerned about ETN than we have been about any of these guys.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, good to know. Last one on the running backs list here, we have Zonovan Knight taking on Detroit, who on the season as a whole is ranked 11th, but I'll get into it in the note. They've definitely been better than that.
About to say they're ranked 11th, but as of late they've been really good. But Zonovan Knight has been someone that this offense has surprisingly trusted a lot. They haven't played James Robinson pretty much at all since they've had
Yeah,
Zonovan Knight step up. Michael Carter's
he's
back, and even when he was back, he didn't do much.
yeah. James Robinson, I just wanted to add, he's been a healthy scratch for the past couple games.
Yeah, that Achilles, they probably realized it's not right.
Yeah.
But Zonovan Knight, let me hear some comparisons because he's not someone I'm super confident against Detroit, but
Yeah,
at the same time he has done pretty well.
for sure. Yeah, let me go through the note and then we'll start listing off names. So Zonovan Knight has scored double-digit fantasy points in each of the last 3 weeks. It does seem like he's earned a pretty good share of the workload, even with Michael Carter back and healthy. But now he faces Detroit, who's been amazing against the run these past 7 weeks. I'm going to list off the top scoring running backs they've played since week 8. Played Raheem Mostert, 6.7 points. Aaron Jones, 4.5 points. Khalil Herbert, 5.7 points. Saquon Barkley, 3.5 points, although Matt Breida, the backup, did score 8.9 that week, but still. Devin Singletary, 8 points. Travis Etienne, 4.6. And last week, Dalvin, 7.6. So they've
Yeah,
been falling.
yeah, that's rough.
All right, so let's get into some of these names here. I'm gonna start the bar with the guy that we ended with. I guess we didn't end. We ended with Monty on the last one, but we'll go Najee Harris versus Carolina.
Mm, I'm probably going Najee over
Okay.
Zonovan.
Demont versus Philly.
Yeah, man, we'll get weird. I go Zonovan Knight over David
Okay.
Montgomery because
So
even though Detroit's defense has been playing amazingly for the last 7 weeks, I will say last week even though it was a divisional game, but the Jets played the Bills last week and Zonovan Knight was still able to have a pretty good week, and that's a tough
yeah,
run defense as well.
for sure.
So I don't want to
Let's
discount him too much, but
yeah.
yeah,
Let's continue here just in case you think that some of the guys listed below Demont would be better starts because I think that that's possible.
okay.
Brian Robinson versus the Giants.
Oh yeah, I'd start Brian Robinson over Zonovan Knight. They have Brian
Yeah.
Robinson
Okay.
under David Montgomery.
They do
Get the fuck
actually.
out of here, bro. That's ridiculous.
I agree with you, so I'm glad we continued.
Yeah,
Deonta Foreman versus Pittsburgh.
I take Deonta Foreman.
Okay. Cordero Patterson versus New Orleans.
I'm drawing the line right there, baby. But
Yeah, very much. Yeah, for
Brian
sure.
Robinson being under David Montgomery is a criminal act. It's criminal.
Yeah, it does seem kind of wild. Like even against not difficult run defenses, I feel like Brian Robinson has been outperforming David Montgomery as of late.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we got the real line there. We had to get through some BS, but we got to Cordy P is definitely the line for Zonovan Knight. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position here. First one on this list, a guy that we both know and love, the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has been on fire as of late, but he's taken on the Jets, who are third ranked against pass.
So here's the thing, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, where does he typically line up at receiver?
Slot.
He lines up in the slot. So he
Yeah, it's
shouldn't,
an important note.
yeah, he shouldn't see a lot of Sauce Gardner because Sauce Gardner's primarily on the outside, but who knows? They might even move him around. But if he sees
I
any Sauce Gardner coverage, I can't. That dude has been way too
That's
good.
that's the thing. I tried to look into it, and like if I had gone back and like actually looked at the film, I probably could have found out, but I didn't take the time to do that. Sauce has definitely traveled as far as like following opposing teams' number one receivers. But I don't know that he's traveled to the slot, like you said. I think he's primarily an outside guy. We'll see if that happens this week. But regardless, the Jets' secondary as a whole has been fantastic this season. Um, so, do you want to get straight into the comparisons? Do you have
Oh,
anything else left to say?
nah, that's it. It's just I'm afraid of Sauce Gardner, and it's
Yeah,
amazing that I can say that his rookie year.
yeah. Okay, so we'll start the bar high here. Well, depending on how you think about it, but C.D. Lamb versus Jacksonville.
I take CD.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's a good matchup for him too. Their passing defense has been pretty bad.
yeah.
Keenan Allen versus Tennessee.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson in the same matchup versus Detroit.
I take Garrett Wilson in that one. I was about to say Garrett Allen.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I would too. He's also been playing really well in Detroit again as a pass funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mike Williams versus Tennessee.
I'd lean more Amon Ra. I like
Okay.
Mike Williams a lot. Obviously last week he had an amazing game. He did really well. But the biggest thing with Mike Williams is he's kind of streaky. So it's tough for
Yeah.
me to bet on him 2 weeks in a row. But he very well could outperform Amon-Ra St. Brown. But Amon-Ra St. Brown has proven like he's kind of got a pretty safe floor as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. His target volume is way too high for him to like have an actual bad game.
Whereas Mike Williams could end the
Um,
game with one catch for 45 yards, and that's it.
it's possible.
Yeah.
I think I would probably still start Mike Williams over Amon Ra. I
Mhm.
do agree that I think Amon Ra is probably the safer bet, the floor play here. But Tennessee has just been so bad against the pass. I think Herbert's going to air it out, and I think that offense is going to look really good.
Mhm.
But if we were to continue, the next guy on this list is definitely a tier break. Terry McLaurin versus the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going Amon-Ra.
100%. I'm starting Amon Ra.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Okay. So we've reached our line there. We'll move on to DeAndre Hopkins. He's going up against Denver, who has been the number one ranked defense as far as fantasy points allowed to wide receivers.
That's a tough one. DeAndre Hopkins has been balling. Obviously, they don't have Kyler anymore, but it doesn't really matter. Colt McCoy is still going to throw on the ball. This guy had Tom Savage throwing on the ball over at, you know, the Texans, and it didn't really matter too much. But the
Yeah.
matchup is scary. Matchup is scary for sure. So I would be interested to hear what some of these comparisons are.
All
Because
right,
I
let's
do
get
feel
into
like
it.
while Denver's defense is good, DeAndre Hopkins is still really fucking good. So it's tough.
Yeah. The man, to get a little bit off topic, not totally off topic, but number one corner for Denver, Pat Surtain. One, he's just been balling, but
Hmm.
the amount of young cornerback talent in the league right now is just incredible. Like
It's a
you could make
passing
an
and a
argument,
guard like all at once.
yeah, you could make the argument that Pat Surtain and Sauce Gardner are like the two best corners in the league right now.
Not gonna lie to you, I see how you're saying you can make that argument. That's kind of just what I believe right now.
Yeah,
Jalen Ramsey, of
yeah,
course, the Rams are bad as a whole, but he
he's
hasn't done anything
yeah,
this year. And
no, he's out of the conversation at this
yeah,
point.
but those two have
So
been hooping.
for sure. All right, let's get into it here. We'll start with Chris Olave versus Atlanta.
God damn. Gonna go Chris Olave there. I
Yeah,
think.
the matchup's really good. He's
Hmm.
another guy whose target volume has been super high, so I like Chris Olave there as well. It's gonna get close quick. Chris Godwin versus Cincinnati.
Looking at matchup only, right? And then the fact that Chris Godwin has been extremely productive as of late, I don't think that's gonna stop. I don't know. Last week he wasn't really super productive because it was a bad
Extremely.
game all around.
He's been a PPR guy. He's been racking up the targets. He's been racking up the receptions, but not so much yardage. He hasn't really scored often.
Hmm.
Cincinnati's actually not that bad against receivers. They might even be top five.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go D Hop. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go D Hop there.
Yeah. Okay. So I just let's do. I don't know that I trust this list. Let me give you one more name,
Okay.
potentially a couple, if you would start this guy over him,
Okay.
because I think you might. Devonta Smith versus Chicago.
I knew they were gonna piss me off. Why is Devonta Smith lower? I knew they were gonna piss me off.
I don't know.
I would start Devonta Smith.
Yeah. Okay. Same here. Um, I think this is probably where the line's going to be, but I won't. I don't want to influence you. Amari Cooper versus Baltimore.
Oh yeah, I'm taking
Okay.
D Hop, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's definitely the line. So definitely, like we're a little bit concerned, but he's still D Hop. Target volume's going to be there. We're not really that worried. He'll be all right.
hmm
Next one here. This one's interesting. Jalen Waddle. Um, he's going up against Buffalo, who you think of as a good defense, but they're actually not that stout against wide receivers, or at least as far as fantasy points allowed to that position. They're 21st in that category. But we've seen Jalen Waddle struggle as of late. He's been dealing with some injuries. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's definitely been struggling as of late with the injuries, but they kept him on the field, so I'd assume he's still at least somewhat able to play football, and he's going to keep ramping up throughout the weeks, even if he is hurt. I think they're
Yeah.
all kind of banged up at this point too. Well, everyone's banged up at this point in the season. You know, we're 14
Yeah.
weeks in, but I think I still like Jalen Waddle as a start because
Okay.
it's just too potent of an offense, and he's too involved. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
time, really.
I want to believe that for sure. And I don't think you're wrong in saying that, but Miami's definitely been trending down lately, and Jalen Waddle's usage hasn't been as high as we saw in the beginning of the year. Um, but let's get into it. I'll start high. Devonta Smith at Chicago.
Yeah, I go Devonta Smith.
Okay. Either of the Seattle receivers, DK or Tyler Lockett. Actually, yeah. I I wonder if I should have put them on this list. We could talk about them if anybody has questions about them in the comments. But DK or Tyler Lockett versus San Francisco.
Do I? So just either of them?
Eh,
Well, I guess they're both
who
kind of interchangeable, really. All right. I don't think
they're
there's anyone that
on
has
this
both.
list. Yeah, on this list they're ranked back to back, and I feel like they've been performing
Pretty
near
much the
identical the
same.
past few weeks. If you want me to pick one, I can. But
Nah, I'd go with either of those two over Jalen Waddle as of right now.
okay, okay, I like it. I think I'm in agreement there. Um, let's yeah, let's go D Hop, who we just talked about against Denver.
I pick D Hop.
Okay,
hmm
Jerry Judy versus Arizona.
Is Jerry Judy gonna play this week?
Is he injured?
No, he's not injured, but I know there's been some. I know he got. I think he got fined. I don't think he's gonna get suspended, but people have been calling for it as of late as well because
Oh,
of the
because of
incident he had
the
with the
thing with the
referee.
referee.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that that was potentially gonna get brought up for a suspension.
I,
Let's assume that he's playing.
if he's playing, I would still probably go Jalen Waddle over Jerry
Okay.
Judy. He did have a good week. He had a great week last week. I'm not gonna say he had a good week. He had a great week,
Yeah.
but I don't trust Russ. I don't got him. I don't know if Russ is gonna beat the bathrooms, man. I don't know if he's gonna beat the bathrooms.
Or if he's even gonna play, he's also dealing with a concussion.
Yeah, so he's been going through the protocol as well. He's got Brett ripping the
Yeah.
ball out there to him. So I'd probably go Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. That one's really close for me, but I think I agree with you. Arizona's pass defense has actually been fairly decent. Um, and Judy, even with how huge of a game he had, he's still only commanded a 20% target share last week. And typically, when you see those dominant performances, we're talking like high 30s and stuff like that. So underlying metrics weren't quite as encouraging as the overall stat line. Let's go to Juju Smith-Schuster, who seems to have gotten back to full health, but they're going up against Houston, who is fourth against wide receivers just because they're so bad against the running back.
And I like Juju a lot, especially since last week was like his first real week back since the injury. Because the prior
Yep.
week he wasn't super involved. This week he got right back into that role he had prior to the injury. So I do like Juju a lot, especially going forward into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder, again, this list has him ranked probably lower than I would have him,
hmm
but we'll see what you think. We'll start here with Jerry Judy.
Yeah, I'd start Juju first.
Yeah, okay. So he's considerably lower than Jerry Judy. So let me raise the bar. Would you start Waddle over Juju?
No.
Damn. Okay.
Not after what I've seen lately, at least. No.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I might agree with you. This is crazy. This list has Juju at 27 and has Judy at 21, Waddle at 19. It's a big gap.
Yeah, it's probably not going to
Um,
age too well.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Devonta Smith.
Mm, I'd go Devonta. I think I'd go Devonta in that
I
situation.
would too.
But
I would too. He's been playing really well.
yeah, but Juju, I think he is. At 27, I think is a little bit low on the week. But I guess it really does come down to if they're gonna have to even throw the ball this week. That's what it really
Right.
comes down to.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, we talked a ton about Isaiah Pacheco already this video. If they could just hand him the ball and not have to do anything else. So I get why he is ranked a little bit lower, but I think it's probably lower than either of us would put him. So we're fairly confident in Juju heading into week 15.
Mm-hmm.
We got two more names on the wide receiver list. We have Mike Evans, been really struggling as of late. In my opinion, I think he's been unlucky. I can't absolve him of any blame. He hasn't been playing the best. Tom Brady hasn't been playing the best. But he's going up against Cincinnati, who is fifth ranked against wide receivers.
So I remember early on, before the season even started, you had told me about a quote about Mike Evans that he was put on this planet to score touchdowns. And that's the exact thing he has not been doing lately.
Yeah.
And we've kind of seen that when he's not scoring touchdowns, his fantasy production does take quite a dive. So he has kind
Yeah,
of reached that touchdown dependent sort of status for me.
for sure. Okay, so let's get into some of the names. I don't think I trust this list anymore. So I'm going to ask you a couple preliminary ones. Do you like? I put Juju ahead of Mike Evans on this list. Do you agree with that
Agreed.
ranking?
Agreed.
Okay. Let's get into some names that we haven't talked about yet, just to see where we're at. Christian Kirk taking on Dallas.
Ooh. I'd take Christian Kirk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christian Watson versus the Rams.
It's it's tough to not bet on the guy who like I think he scores on like 60% of his catches. So I'm probably gonna go Christian Watson there.
I think I would too. Michael Pittman Jr. versus Minnesota, who's been terrible against receivers, by the way.
I go Michael Pittman. I think this is a good bounce back week for him, and he's always involved every single week. You know, he's most
Yeah,
targeted on the team.
yeah. I don't love trusting that Indy offense, but I think I agree with you. Brandon Ayuk versus Seattle. He's probably going to see a fair amount of Tariq Woolen.
Ooh, yeah, because he's gonna be their number one that week as well. Because Debo's definitely not playing
Definitely
this
not
week.
playing. Yeah.
But I still like Brandon Ayuk, so I'm gonna pick Brandon Ayuk.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. I don't hate it. I think that one's super close for me.
yeah, it's really close. But I like Brandon Ayuk a lot. I think he's gonna
All right.
do well this week.
This is where the tier break probably starts to happen. But who knows? Zay Jones versus Dallas.
Yeah, that's where it breaks right there. It's
Yeah.
just that Brandon Ayuk one is a 50-50 call. I'm going with Brandon Ayuk purely because I like Brandon Ayuk more as a player.
Yeah.
But if anyone were to pick Mike Evans over Brandon Ayuk in that instance, I wouldn't be mad at them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. That one's super close. Zay Jones has actually been performing really well as of late.
Hmm.
But
I don't trust it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't trust it. Andy's playing Dallas. Not a great matchup. So yeah, we're going with Mike Evans. That's the line. So we are pretty concerned. If Zay Jones is the bar for Mike Evans, we're pretty concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hopefully he gets a bounce back. All right, we'll get into our last wide receiver here. We already talked about DeAndre Hopkins, but I also want to bring up Marquise Brown, also taking on that number one ranked Denver defense.
And I still do like Marquise. Even like you said, Colt McCoy pretty much got the entire game last week. Marquise still saw 8 targets, so it's not like he's not involved. He's still been heavily involved ever since he came back from injury. It's just a matter of one of these breaks. Because, like
Yeah,
Denver's got the number one defense, but they're not completely shutting people down at the end of the day either.
yeah. Like you said, the usage for Marquise Brown has been fantastic throughout the season, even since he's come back from the injury. But these past 2 weeks for his
Yeah.
fantasy production have been bad. Um, so this list, I do think has him lower than we're than we are probably going to think that he is. Um, but I'm going to start here with Brandon Ayuk, who we just talked about versus Seattle.
I'd probably go Marquise. I
Oh,
like Marquise a
okay.
lot. I do. Even though it's a bad matchup, I do like Marquise a lot. Just as a
Okay.
player, even. I think he's still going to be able to persevere, even though it's a tough matchup. If there's
Yeah.
anyone, at least, I think that the combination of D Hop and Marquise Brown could give Denver some problems. At least that's how I
Yeah.
feel.
Sure. Yeah. I don't hate that.
But
I
just
think
to be,
that
who is underneath as well? Just because you did seem a little
so.
surprised. I'm sure you don't agree, but I would be interested to see what yours would be.
No, it's not even that. Uh, I mean, I probably would start Ayuk over Brown, but I agree that it's really close. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the next guy underneath him would be the line because it is Zay Jones again.
True.
That would be my line for sure. Um, but yeah, I'm a little bit nervous just about whether that passing offense in Arizona is going to be effective. Not necessarily just because of Colt McCoy, but because of the offensive line. We saw how under pressure he was against New England. He took a ton of sacks, didn't have any time back there, and Denver has been pretty good at rushing the passers. That's my concern for the most part. Not so much Marquise Brown like as a talent, but since you said that you would take Marquise Brown over Brandon Ayuk, let's go up a little bit. We'll go to Michael Pittman versus Minnesota.
I'd take Michael Pittman.
Okay, so that's going to be your line.
Yeah. It's just
All
Michael
right, so yeah,
Pittman's usage and his just role in the offense is bigger than Marquise
yeah,
Brown's is. So, and I think talent wise, they're pretty equal, somewhat.
okay. Yeah, I like that as the line as well. But that I think that goes to show, at least based on this list, we're probably a little bit higher than consensus on Marquise Brown this week. We still have belief in him, even though he's struggled for the past 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
All right, last guy on this list, and maybe the most difficult guy to talk about. Mark Andrews at tight end. He's going up against Cleveland, divisional matchup. They've been 7th ranked against tight ends. There's a lot of question marks here to get into, but I'll let you just take it away.
So, I just want to let you guys in on this. When Eric sent me this list, I actually saw Mark Andrews down here and I laughed because at the beginning of this season, if you guys have been watching these sit starts, we started out with a segment called Kyle Pitts or Random Waiver Wire Tight End. And it's seeming
Throwback.
like yeah, and it's seeming like we've slowly started to shift into Mark Andrews versus random waiver wire tight end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's not been performing lately at all. And going up
It's been
against
really bad.
Cleveland, not a great matchup. Doesn't have a starting quarterback back there. Who do we know who's starting at quarterback for the Ravens yet?
We don't.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing because
Yeah.
okay, so Tyler Huntley is in the concussion protocol, and with the new concussion kind of regulations, we've seen a lot of guys miss at least 1 week. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
harder to come back in the same week. So I'm not super confident that he's going to be back. We haven't gotten any update on Lamar and his knee injury. I doubt that he's going to be back. So we could be dealing with this guy. What is his name? Anthony Brown, the
Yeah.
undrafted quarterback out of Oregon. I don't know anything about him. I can't imagine he's any good. He's like somewhat athletic. I think he ran like a 4.7, but
He's literally Anthony Brown to me is the guy that like when I was watching a Ravens preseason game, I looked away and I looked up and I was like, when did Tyler Huntley change his number? So
yeah,
that's really all Anthony Brown is to me right there. I don't think he's all that great either, and it's
yeah.
uh,
So let's do this 2 ways.
okay.
Let's say I don't have any confidence that Lamar is going to play this week. Do you agree?
Yeah, completely agree.
Let's assume for the first round of this that Tyler Huntley does get cleared from concussion protocol and he plays. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Either way, this is going to be tough because the tight end landscape is horrendous. So I don't know who we're going to put above below, but we'll see. With the assumption that Tyler Huntley is playing, would you start T.J. Hawkinson versus Indianapolis over Mark
I'm
Andrews?
definitely starting to walk, bro. T.J.
Yeah,
Watkinson giving him the nod over Mark Andrews.
same. Okay. George Kittle versus Seattle.
That's tough. Kittle hasn't really been super involved, but with Debo out this week, I think his involvement will go up. So
That's
I
the
go Kittle
yeah.
right there.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, like you said, his involvement with Brock Purdy hasn't really been as high, but yeah, with Debo, they're going to need to rely on their playmakers.
Hmm.
Um, Dalton Schultz versus Jacksonville.
I'd start Dalton Schultz.
I think I would too. Um, Greg Dulcich versus Arizona, who I think has been either last or second to last against the tight end position.
Yeah, I'd probably go Greg Dulcich there. He's been pretty involved too.
He
He's been
has. He's
very
been really
involved.
involved. Okay. So even with Huntley playing, you're still going Dulcich over Mark Andrews.
If Huntley plays, see, that's the thing though. I'm looking at two different situations right here. Because,
No, so that's what I'm saying. Like, play the hypothetical with me here that it's
well, no,
Huntley.
I'm not even talking Huntley versus Brown. I'm
Okay.
talking Huntley with Andrews versus Dulcich without Wilson.
Oh, okay.
You get
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying?
Right.
So
That's fair.
if that's the case and they don't have Russ, I'd probably start Mark Andrews. But if they do have Russ, I'd probably go Greg Dulcich.
Okay. Um, let's keep going until we get a definitive one. David
Mm-hmm.
Njoku versus Baltimore.
I go David Njoku. That man loves Deshaun Watson. He knows how to catch that. He knows how to catch him without, even if he's got the massage oil all over him, man. So he's used to it. He's built for
Okay.
it.
Cole Kmet against Philly, but with Justin Fields back under center.
Cole Kmet.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's keep it going. Pat Fryermuth versus Carolina, with Mitch Trubisky probably under center.
that's probably where I'll stop right there.
Okay.
I'd start Mark Andrews over Pat Fryermuth in that instance. Yeah.
Okay. So the bar, even with Huntley, if he plays, is really low.
I need to see something out of Mark Andrews, bro, because it's like
I, yeah,
I'm not gonna start him just based off of, oh well, earlier this season he did well. I don't give a fuck. It's his playoffs. I got to see you're doing well now because I only got one game. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I think Cole Kmet might be too far for me. If Huntley plays, I think I would probably start Andrews over Kmet. But for everything else, I think I agree. But now let's play the Anthony Brown game.
Oh
And how
boy.
far do we sink? So I'm assuming. Well, let's just start at where we left
So
off. Pat Fryermuth versus Carolina.
we're starting at Pat Fryermuth. I'm starting Pat Fryermuth.
I am too. Evan Ingram versus
Evan
Dallas.
Ingram.
Gerald Everett versus Tennessee.
That's tough,
Pass
actually.
funnel.
That's tough. Probably going Gerald Everett.
Yeah, yeah.
That's tough.
That's crazy to say out loud, but I think I agree with you.
That's tough.
Dawson Knox versus Miami in what could be a shootout, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd start Dawson Knox. I'd start
Okay.
Dawson Knox.
Chigo Conquo versus the Chargers.
If Traylon Burks is in there, I'm going Chig. 100%.
Yeah, I think I'm still in agreement. Hunter Henry versus Las Vegas.
All right, enough's enough. I'll go Mark Andrews there.
Okay, so
But Hunter Henry has been pretty involved as of late too. So if you started him
he's
over Mark Andrews again, I don't think I could be all too mad at you.
yeah, I yeah, I agree. I would go Mark Andrews there just because like you
Yeah,
can't not.
yeah,
Um, and I think if we went any further, the line gets really gross. Like Jawan Johnson.
yeah. Now we're just getting into disrespectful territory.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that to him. But okay, so that is the end of our list. I'm glad that we ended with Mark Andrews because I feel like that's going to be the hottest topic of debate for most players that do own him. I hope that you gained something valuable from this. I hope you were able to kind of gauge our confidence levels, potentially help you make your sit-start decisions this week. I know it was a long one. I think it took just about an hour, but let us know, like I said in the beginning, if you like this format a little bit better, if this is any more helpful. If not, we can switch it back. But just wanted to try to change things up. See if this was a good idea. So I hope you guys liked it. But yeah, before we get out of here, Will, you want to hit the people with some information?
Oh hell yeah! If you guys made it this far in the video, bro, y'all fuck with the video. So subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Hit that notification bell. Hit the
Drop a
comment
like.
section. Yeah, drop a like. Hit the comment section. Let us know about any other people that you have questions about because We'll go through. I'm not gonna say we'll sit down with you and we'll go through the list and say, yeah, this is the guy we want to start. But we will let you know if we think someone is a good start this week. No paywall, anything like that. If you got questions between players and who you think we should start, let us know. We'll answer them. And make sure you guys check out the description. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, where you get all that extraneous information that we give out. And you'll probably see me talk some shit on Twitter, stuff like that. So it's a good time. And if you made it this far in the video, like I said, we love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, we'll catch you guys the next time. Peace.
Peace. Good luck in the playoffs.
Yeah, good luck in the playoffs. Forgot about playoffs, because I got that first round bye. You feel me?